What's up, guys? We're going to get started in just a minute. Whoops. Didn't mean to cough like that. All right, let's get this show on the road. How are you guys doing? As I just coughed on myself, trying to get this stream going. Man. But yeah, as you guys can probably tell by the title of this stream, I'm back from COVID. I had COVID, what was it? 2 weeks ago? So yeah, the week of the 27th, um, my parents came into town for Christmas. Everything was good, thankfully I didn't start feeling it until afterwards. um, but yeah, my family, my mom and dad, my brother, his girlfriend came over to my place to hang out with me and my girlfriend, celebrated Christmas together. Everything was great. um, and then as soon as they left, it just hit my girlfriend and I like a truck. It came out of nowhere. So yeah, that whole, just to give you guys my take on it, that whole week was pretty rough. It's not the most sick I've ever been, but it was still definitely kind of bad. Um, I would say Monday, Tuesday. Monday was like really when I first started feeling it. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was basically useless. I mean, we just sat on the couch all 3 days, just laying on the couch, basically doing nothing, just watching TV, just hoping to get past it. And really, the worst thing for me was my throat. I mean, I had body aches. It was like typical flu stuff. But man, it was just like my throat. I couldn't even swallow. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, you got to stay hydrated. You're not eating anything. I had no appetite. But like, I literally couldn't even drink water. That was like the worst part of it for me. And then once that went away, I was kind of all right. Like the body aches, being hot and cold, like I could deal with that. But when you can't even swallow, when you can't even drink water, that sucks. So that took a few days to get past. Um, but then even once it kind of started going away, like Thursday and Friday, I was starting to get back into it. Saturday, Sunday, okay, I'm like functional, but I just was, the brain fog was just unbelievable. So that's why I didn't stream last week. I thought about it, but I was like, man, I'm going to be running on half a cylinder. So push it off another week and then slowly getting back into the swing of things. Went back to the gym halfway through last week. Not feeling the best, but just putting in the reps, just kind of running through the motions. But I'm back. We made it. It's all good. Thankfully, no loss of taste or smell or anything like that. That would have not been great. But like I said, I'm here. Just not even the worst flu I've ever had. I've had a flu. I had the flu like maybe, that was bad. Like I couldn't even walk. I would like, I look like an old 80-year-old just like hunched over. It was the fucking worst. But this one wasn't as bad. So let me make sure everything's running all right as far as my internet. Looks like there might be some issues. One sec. Sorry, guys. Just trying to figure out what is going on with my stream at the moment. I mean, everything looks okay. Like my okay. Like my internet speed looks good. I think we might be back to stable. Okay. I think we're there. That was weird. All right, anyways, jumping into what I wanted to talk about this week. Kind of related to the whole me getting COVID thing. Saw this tweet thread come out. What was it? Yeah, yesterday came across my timeline. Look, I get it. There's definitely some people that have some legitimate reasons to be worried about COVID. But some people are just taking this a little too far. Like this guy. Says, I've been tweeting about COVID for nearly 2 years, but this week it became personal when my 28-year-old younger son got it. With his permission, I'll describe his experience and how I approach his situation, given the realities of life and the rapidly changing evidence. So the big thing here that gets me is his son's 28 years old. Like, I get it. There's a part of me that's like, I will never really understand what it's like to have somebody that's your kid get sick. Because even when I had COVID, like my dad was checking in on me, like, hey, everything good? You know, every morning, like, you guys feeling any better? But this thread just takes it a little too far. First off, he says, my son who lives in San Francisco is generally healthy but overweight. That's the first thing that kind of gets me, is what exactly does this mean? I'm not 100% sure. A lot of people have been saying stuff like this. Like, I'm healthy, overweight, but healthy. Like, I don't know that those two things can be true at the same time. Unless he's just talking about, like, he doesn't have any obvious signs of sickness. It's not like he's, every day dealing with something. But if you are overweight, there are probably going to be some things that are going to come up later in life. It's just a matter of time. But anyways, he's been quite careful since March, has received 3 Modernas. He used to wear a 2-ply cloth mask, blah, blah, blah. Then he says, instead, one of the few friends he sometimes sees in person, another fully vaxxed young person who has also been quite careful, came over Monday night to watch a movie. She felt fine, as did he. Wednesday a.m., 36 hours later, he woke up and felt awful. Sore throat, dry cough, muscle aches, chills. Pretty much exactly what I was feeling. It took a few days to kick in. I think I got it on like a Thursday, and I didn't start feeling the symptoms until Monday. But this is basically what I was feeling. Really, really bad sore throat. Probably the worst I've ever had. Coughing, muscle aches, chills. I didn't freak out about it because I'm like, hey, this is pretty much COVID shit. Like, this is kind of what you expect. Even if I had a flu, this is kind of what I expect. So for me personally, I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I don't feel great. And the second it really was starting to get bad, I'm obviously like in that state of mind, when you're like healthy, you don't think about, what it's like to be healthy until you're sick. And then you're like, Jesus, can I just get rid of this? That's basically where I was at. But I knew, like, hey, as long as things aren't getting worse and worse as the week goes on, probably a normal flu, probably just normal sickness. He said, I told him to stay home, drink fluids, good advice, and take Tylenol or Advil. He came outside. I wore an N95 and we ran it with a nasal swab. It was negative. I was a little reassured, though he was not. Dad, it feels like just like I felt after my vaccine. He seems sick enough to be infectious. I wonder if he'd been an example of the newly reported problems with false negative rapid tests on the first day of Omicron infection. Anyways, he goes on and on about the testing and all this shit. And then he says it was time for another rapid test. This time, based on early reports that swabbing throat plus nose improves yield for Omicron, that's what we did. A good rub around his tonsils and tongue, and then same swab, a bit gross, both nostrils. The 15-minute wait. This is where it just gets way too theatrical for me. This is my problem, is some people are like, you don't understand. You don't understand what it's like to be a parent. I get it. There is a part of me that is empathizing with that and trying to be realistic. But tell me that this doesn't seem just a little bit performative. The 15-minute wait and then ... the pink line. He was positive. Like millions of other young people, my son had COVID. I felt a strange guilt, not entirely rational, but real, for not having protected him. This is just the 15-minute wait and then ... the pink line. He was positive. Look, my girlfriend took a COVID test. It came up positive. We were just like, oh, son of a bitch. You got COVID. Damn, that sucks. Life continues. This guy is writing about this as if his son got leukemia. That's my issue here. Like, I don't keep up with all of the different variants and how deadly each of the variants are. But from the little bit that I've seen, it seems like Omicron, or the way I like to say it, as Pat McAfee got me saying, Omicron. It seems like Omicron is very not deadly. And if we want to have this discussion about what we should be doing, how we should be handling, that's all great. But this just seemed a bit over the top, man. When I was reading it, I shit you not, I'm reading this thread waiting before I quote tweet it and add my own little 2 cents, and before I come onto the stream and talk about it. I'm like, let me finish reading this thread because this is super unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure at the bottom of this thread, his kid's dead. That's what I was expecting to happen, is that he was going to be like, man, you know, I know he was not at an at-risk age group. He was generally healthy but overweight. But that was kind of where I thought this was going, is that he was going to be like, man, my 28-year-old son died from COVID. In the end, it was just, nope, it's all good. We just got to wait. Even says here, my son should do okay, but the illness and the anxiety it causes are miserable. Resigning ourselves to getting Omicron doesn't seem right, especially since the surge may be short-lived. I still think it's an experience best avoided for you and your loved ones if you can. Of course, it is a situation that you would rather avoid. I would avoid getting the common cold. I would prefer to avoid getting the flu. But I'm also not going to freak out and treat it like something that it's not. I try not to attribute or try not to give people, project some sort of rationale as to why people do stuff. But man, this seemed a little bit like, I want some internet points. Does it not? AN says the theatrics is a result of all the media hysteria that they've been feeding people for the past 2 years. And the lie that zero COVID or to never get it is the goal. These people do not get the actual data in a more firsthand way. They don't listen to Dr. John Campbell, etc. Yeah, I mean, part of it has to be that. Like, when my parents got COVID, we were just kind of like, oh, damn, that sucks. You got it. Okay, hope you recover. Like, it wasn't this big event. The amount of people that are actually dying from this is like pretty small. And then the people that are dying from it are in groups where we kind of expect it. They have a bunch of other health conditions, they're very overweight. They, it's not like they're just healthy young individuals. These are older people, people who already have some other sort of sickness. We're not super surprised by the people that are getting hit with this really hard. But then we talk about it as if this guy got cancer. I'm just not following this. At no point when I had COVID was I like, oh man, let me tweet about this. Let me write some big ass thread. I mean, literally, here's what I tweeted. Let me find it. Yeah, here's my tweet. COVID is kicking my ass. I'll be back in a few days. That was literally the extent of my take with COVID. And then a few other days, I said, last week I was very sick with COVID, barely eating or drinking anything. By day 3 or 4, I realized it was the longest I'd gone without caffeine in a while. So this was just me kind of going on about, hey, I was so sick, I wasn't drinking coffee when I had COVID. And then once I recovered, I was like, let me just keep this going. Let me just see if I can continue without caffeine. And I haven't had caffeine since. It's been almost 2 weeks now. I think tomorrow will be 2 weeks without caffeine. So if anything, I took a positive from COVID. Once I recovered, once it was like Friday and I was like, okay, I'm like, I can walk around, do stuff, get on my computer, be like a functional human being. Then I just like kind of took a minute to think about it and I was like, oh, I haven't had coffee all week. Hey, let's keep this going. I've kind of wanted to do a no caffeine month and this just forced it on me. So it's been almost 2 weeks now without caffeine. Doing all right, I'll say. I've been waking up super early. That's one interesting thing about this. Go on a little side rant real quick about the whole caffeine thing. Part of me does want coffee, and I did get a decaf coffee this morning. But the big thing that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's purely due to taking caffeine out of my diet or if part of it is also just my sleep schedule got kind of fucked up with COVID, because it did. I was like sleeping all day, but I'm waking up at like 5 in the morning, 4:45, 5 in the morning. No alarm set. I'm just waking up. And it's kind of annoying because I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I'm realizing I don't need as much sleep as I thought I did, because I would love to be one of those people that can totally get by on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But that would be the number one thing I think I've noticed so far, is that I'm just waking up and then I can't get back to sleep. And during the day, I've had like little dips where I'm like, I would really like a coffee right now, but I just kind of push through it and it's been all right. Peter says, hey man, I like hearing from you and glad everything is going well. Been learning a lot about Azure and AWS. Anyway, keep it up, mate. I know it's a small audience, but things will grow. Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. AWS is always fun. I've only had to deal with it like a few times myself, but I know there is oh, actually, real quick, let me give you a resource. You might actually, where is it? Daniel Vassallo. I know he's written something about this. This guy, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but where is it? The good parts of AWS. Here you go. This might be something worth looking into. It's on a sale right now for $15, and he sold nearly 7,000 copies, 100 5-star reviews. So yeah, that might be something worth looking into. I haven't had to deal with AWS too much, but if I did, this might be something I would check out. All right. So, kind of going off of that whole COVID thing, I came across this the other day. This body positivity website has created these "Don't Weigh Me" cards. Let me blow these up. Please don't weigh me unless it's really medically necessary. If you really need my weight, please tell me why so that I can give you my informed consent. We're in this weird state right now where people can't get their story straight. Because on one hand, they want to say, trust the science, trust the science. Your doctors are telling you to get vaccinated. Your doctors are telling you to get the booster. All of the science says this is more beneficial for you than it is not. There might be some risks if they'll even admit that. But at the end of the day, get your fucking vaccine because your doctor told you to. But then at the same time, we also have all these political little initiatives that get into science, that get into health and medicine. And one of them is this. Please don't weigh me unless it's absolutely or unless it's really medically necessary. First of all, weight is pretty necessary. This is a part of this whole thing where it's like you can be healthy at any size. Weight and health are not the same thing. And then these same people will probably like bring up BMI as like an example. And here's the thing with BMI. Let me just give you my take on BMI because I know there's a lot of controversy around BMI. Is BMI 100% accurate? Absolutely not. It is not accurate. There are a lot of people who are overweight if you were to look at their BMI, but they're not. They're in great shape. The problem is, this isn't the average person. Like when we're talking about BMI, we're talking about average people. We're talking about the general population. And if we're talking about the general population, BMI is pretty accurate. I'm not going to bet the house on it that it's going to nail it every single time, but in general, BMI is going to be pretty accurate. The problem is that people will bring up examples that are nowhere near what they are as evidence that BMI doesn't apply to them. For example, like NFL linebackers. Because you'll have an NFL linebacker who's like 6 feet tall, maybe 6'1", 6'2", and they weigh like 270. And yeah, technically, according to BMI, that athlete is overweight. But we know they're not. Take that linebacker, have him take off his pads, take off his shirt, basically get naked, and you're like, this dude would fuck me up. This dude's obviously in great shape. But you can't compare yourself to the 1%. You can't compare yourself to an NFL athlete's BMI and be like, well, he's overweight, therefore all of it's wrong. That's not how it works. You can't, that's like somebody who's on the verge of homelessness all the time, looking at a millionaire or a billionaire and saying, well, they don't do their own laundry. They hire somebody to do their laundry. So I should too. They value their time so much that they would pay somebody else. They'll outsource their laundry so that they can do more important things. The problem is, depending on your life circumstances, that's not realistic. One, most people are very bad at using their time, so outsourcing their laundry isn't really freeing up much time to do other shit. But then two, you're just not in a situation where that's a luxury you can realistically afford. It might be like, hey, do your fucking laundry. Once your hourly rate is like thousands of dollars and doing laundry is actually taking your time away from income generating activities where you're literally making more money, then you can start having that conversation. But this is basically what people are doing. They're looking at professional athletes. They'll pick some random Olympian that's coming up in the Winter Olympics in what, a month? And say, well, they're overweight. That's why BMI is bullshit. That is not how this works. If the people who BMI doesn't apply to, they know it because they're in the gym. They're like 5'8", they weigh 230, but they can also deadlift like 500 pounds. They know BMI doesn't apply to them. But your average Gen Pop fucking pleb that's like, you don't need to weigh me because BMI is inaccurate. It's like, okay, what's your mile time? 20 minutes? Okay. How much can you Oh, you can't even pick up all your groceries? Okay. Like, it doesn't apply to you. It's not the same thing. Oh my God. And then the back of this damn card. Why? Why should you not weigh me? Most health conditions can be addressed without knowing my weight. Kind of. I get what you're saying. That's the thing. There's always like the tiniest nuggets of truth here. Like, yeah, if you're allergic to dairy or cashews, yeah, you could technically diagnose that health condition without knowing their weight. But if you're severely overweight and you've gotten COVID, they might say, hey, we need to treat this a little bit differently because you have this sickness, this other sickness, and you're overweight. So COVID might actually be something we're going to worry about, which is why weight is important. Not to mention other things like health conditions. Let's say you have really bad joints, really stiff knees, a lot of joint pain. How old are you? 25. Okay, yeah, we could technically diagnose you and say you do have joint pain, you do have knee issues, but then you take this other variable. You're 100 pounds overweight. Oh, okay. Now we can start to diagnose this in a different way. Maybe you have joint pain. Maybe your knees are bothering you. Not because it's a health condition that just came out of nowhere, but because you're literally carrying around too much weight. This is why it's important. In order to give a holistic sort of answer to your issues, weight is going to factor into that. When you focus on my weight, I get stressed, and that's not healthy. Okay, this is a me problem, right? This is a problem that you know is a problem because you're getting stressed. They're related. When you focus on my weight, I get stressed. Okay, but the reason you're getting stressed is because you know it's true. Yeah, constantly being stressed isn't healthy. That's not good for your body to just constantly be in a state of stress. Not good for you. Objectively, just not good for you. But what's worse in the long run? The doctor not asking you your weight and making you feel good, or the doctor asking you your weight, which you know is a problem, you getting temporarily stressed, but then coming to some sort of resolution. Hey, maybe you need to get to the gym. Maybe you need to go on daily walks. Maybe you need to go outside. Get some vitamin D. There are so many things that you can start to recommend as a result of somebody's weight. And to just throw that cop out, just to be like, well, when you bring that up, I get stressed. That's not healthy, so we should just not bring it up at all. Oh my God. You can't just run away from your problems forever. Eventually, you have to like face it and finally acknowledge, like, hey, there might be something wrong here. Weighing me every time I come in for an appointment and talking about my weight like it's a problem perpetuates weight stigma. Look, it's the elephant in the room. How are we not supposed to talk about this? Let's hope this doesn't become like preferred gender pronouns. See, a few years ago, it wasn't even that long ago, where we were like, okay, yeah, some people are talking about preferred gender pronouns, but it's like isolated. It's like if people want to bring it up, we let them bring it up. If they ask about it, okay, now it's on the table. But then I don't even know exactly when it happened. It became this thing where it's just like that's the default. Now you go into work at a company and they're just like, hey, what's your preferred gender pronoun? It just became standard. It just happened. This might happen too. What if it does? What if doctors are like, you know what? Asking somebody about their weight does cause them stress. It does perpetuate weight stigma. What are we going to do in 30, 40 years when countless health issues, countless health risks have just gone completely unignored or completely ignored and completely unaddressed because doctors felt like they were pushed into a position where they're like, we can't even talk about this. That is going to be one of the greatest atrocities of our time. We already have people that are, I mean, our nation's like 60% overweight. And that was just the natural progression of things. Just the shitty American diet just kind of led us there. We already had a problem to solve. But then you throw on, hey, every time you ask me about my weight, you're contributing to weight stigma. Then if we actually were to get to a state to where we have shitty dietary practices, nobody exercises, and you're not even allowed to talk about their weight, we're going to have people dying when they're 50 years old. Everybody's going to look around and be like, God, our healthcare system failed us. It's like, well, you guys didn't want to fucking talk about it. You guys said you got stressed every time you walked into a damn hospital and your doctor was like, hey, I noticed you're up 20 pounds in 3 months. Everything okay? You good? Family member died? Let's bring that up too. What if that was the source of things? What if a doctor was so well rounded? Also, my green screen's getting all fucked up. The sunlight's coming in. What if a doctor was woke enough to do that? If they had a client come in, they're like, hey, I noticed you've lost or you've gained like 15, 20 pounds in the past 3 months. Is everything good? Like, is everything in your family okay? Have you had any outside stressors come into your life? And they're like, well, yeah, actually, my dad died. When did he die? 2 months ago. Oh, okay. All right. So, do you find like comfort in food since your dad has passed? Like, do you just get depressed and you're just kind of in this hole and then you just eat to kind of deal with that? And they're like, yeah. Okay. Do you want some tips on how to fix that? Do you want to address that? Because it's not healthy. I get it. Your dad died. You're stressed. You're depressed. I get it. But we're not on a good path here. You've gained a lot of weight in the past 3 months. We know why it's happening. This is a normal thing. This is how shit should work. Doctors can normalize this stuff. They can be like, hey, yeah, you've gained weight. It's not good, but it's not irreversible. Not only that, we actually know why. I have clients come in sometimes, they don't know why they're gaining weight. They swear up and down they're eating the same amount of food, nothing's entered their life, but you have admitted to me your dad died, you find comfort in food. Should we work on that? But in a world where these fucking weight cards exist, that doctor will never be able to get there. Because if you're not allowed to weigh them, you're also not allowed to talk about their weight. Could you think of a worse thing that a doctor could possibly be subjected to than to leave out one key variable in their client's health? I'm not talking shit about this. I mean, part of me is talking shit about this because I think it's so goofy. And it's just like this world that some people want to live in where they just never have to face the bad things in their life. They never have to face their own personal shortcomings, their own bad habits. Part of me is talking shit about that. But part of me is also talking about this because it's actually really fucked up and dangerous. This is not the world we want to live in. I'm not saying fat shame people. We shouldn't do that. But doctors sure as hell should have they should at least be able to weigh you. And on top of that, like I get hospitals aren't handing this out. But if somebody walks into a doctor's office, the doctor should be fully within their right to be like, hey, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And here's why. They should 100% have that ability. And I don't want to get into a state where a doctor's like, see somebody come in with this and they feel like they can't say anything. Because that person might have 100,000 Twitter followers. They tweet it out. The hospital's like, Jesus Christ. And then it just turns into like teachers getting canceled over, having their students read Mein Kampf or whatever fucking book would trigger them. I don't want to get to that state where doctors feel like I can't say anything about this. So they have an overweight patient come in. They're like, hey, I have a don't weigh me card. And they're just like, everything's good, bro. You're good. And then they die, and then the hospital's liable for it. The doctor's reputation's tarnished. They're like, Jesus Christ, guys, how did you not see the heart attack coming 2 years ago? He's like, well, technically I did, but I couldn't say shit because they came in with a don't weigh me card. And if I were to talk about it, they would get stressed. We can't live in that world. And then the last one. I pursue healthy behaviors regardless of my weight status. Whatever the fuck that means. What does that even mean? See, I would be a little bit more sympathetic to this if you could actually find me these unicorns. Find me these unicorns who are overweight, but like putting in the work. You're like, let me see your pantry. Oh my God, everything's healthy. What did you eat for lunch today? Sausage and eggs. Oh my God, this is all healthy. What did you do after lunch? Oh, you went on a 3-mile walk. And you're still overweight. They want you to believe that these people like exist in abundance. That this is like a very common thing for people to be healthy and overweight. This is not a common thing. 60% of America is overweight or obese. Go to middle America. Go to Alabama. Get outside of a city. Go to a Walmart. Find every overweight and obese person and tell me how many you think like that person is legitimately healthy. They're overweight, but legitimately healthy. This is not a common thing. You look at most of these people, you're like, if a dog was on the loose, I don't think you could run back to your car. You're like totally fucked. Diabetes commercials are everywhere. Diabetes is everywhere. In addition to the commercials. But yeah, you're right. Measure your A1C. Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard one of those commercials, but yeah, I do remember hearing about those. But this cannot turn into the higher education system. And I'm worried it might get there. Or we're just going to have these two worlds that just exist at the same time. You're just going to have like some people who go to these doctors, and those doctors are just like, everything's great. You're a woman who's 25 years old, you're 5'5", and you weigh 300 pounds, but you're all good. Because you had one slice of avocado toast last week and an acai bowl earlier today. And then you're going to have like real doctors that are like, hey, you got to get your shit together. Like, you got to start working out. And here's a personal trainer I can recommend you to. Here's a dietitian I can recommend you to. Here's some like staples. Here's some common things to get out of your diet. Like, are you drinking soda? Yeah, don't drink soda. Are you drinking calories? Don't drink calories. Just try and drink like Zevia, water, tea. Just drink that. Are we just going to have those two worlds kind of exist at the same time? Because I feel like that's where we're going. And then give it another 10, 20 years, and they're going to be like, oh my God, they're so privileged. They had access to the best doctor. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, man. This cannot be our future. That's the takeaway here. And look, I know I've talked about this before, but it is super, super important to get in shape. The pandemic should have shown us this. But this isn't like an optional part of life. I'm not saying you have to go full fucking bodybuilder. I'm not saying you have to become some insane CrossFit athlete. But just like getting out every once in a while, playing a game of tennis on Monday, doing a workout at home on Wednesday, going for a walk on, like, it doesn't have to be that much. But the outlook is not great. And your environment dictates so much. If you're living in a house, let's say of like 4 other guys, and all those guys are total meatheads, it's going to be really hard to just be the fat ass that sits at home playing Fortnite all day. Because every day those guys are like, hey, we're going to the gym. You want to come along? And you're like, eventually you're just going to be like, okay. Like, your environment literally is conducive to you going to the gym towards exercise. But when the entire country is overweight, it's going to be really hard to be that one motherfucker that's like still getting it done. But that's what you need to do. Every aspect of your life will get better. You feel better. You look better. I have guys at the grocery store all the time, just like earlier this week. I'm just buying coconut milk at the grocery store. Ran out of coconut milk. The guy behind me, hey man, you look like you're in good shape. I'm like, thanks. It's like, what'd you drink that coconut milk for? Is it good? And then we just get into this whole conversation about coconut milk. Ask him why I drink it. Dairy. I'm like, I avoid dairy. Getting into this whole thing about lactose intolerance. But just looking at me, this guy was just like, I think he knows what he's talking about. Let me dig into this a little bit. Let me talk to him. Every aspect of your life gets better. Dating gets way easier. Job interviews get easier. Recovering from COVID gets easier. It's so important. It's literally a part of who you are. You can have a successful business, but nobody really knows until you tell them. And they're like, how much you making? Oh, I'm doing like 100K this year. Oh, shit. How long you been at it? Like 3 years? Oh, damn. Then they start to get an idea of your discipline. Okay, this guy's like set on something. He gets it done. 3 years in, he's making this much money. Damn. That's good to have. And I'm not saying don't have that. But when you're in shape and when you look like it, that discipline is literally right there in front of them. You're not like, hey, anybody got a drum set? Watch me play drums. I'm fucking awesome. It's not like, hey, anybody got a canvas and some paint? Watch me paint. They see that and they're like, okay, it obviously took a lot of work to get there. But when you're just in shape, the discipline is literally right there. And the discipline is undeniable. The respect for it is undeniable because everybody just a week ago had that as their New Year's resolution. I'm going to get in shape as their New Year's resolution. If you can be one of the people that actually did it, every part of your life goes up. Every aspect. And you will never, ever be tempted to walk into a damn doctor's office with a don't weigh me card. Because if you talk about my weight, I get stressed. Don't be that. Do not be that. And if you guys are looking for some resources, download my book, Body Weight Basics, Fundamental Exercises and Equipment for Home Workouts. And also, you can just follow me on Instagram. I've been posting more reels, posting more content on there as well. I will be posting more coming up. So yeah, if you guys are just like in a state where you're like, man, I don't know how to get started. I'd like to do this, but I just don't know what to do. Follow me. Download my book. It's free. If you have questions, just reach out to me. Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Message me on YouTube. I'm never going to be like, dude, why are you asking me questions about that book I asked you to download? If you download the book, you have questions, and you message me, I will respond. And then if you just want to stay up to date on some more of the video footage that I do, some of the reels that I'm making, follow me on Instagram. And honestly, you guys have like top priority over anybody else, really. If I get a random DM on Instagram, like I still respond to them. But if you shoot me a DM on Instagram and you're like, hey, by the way, I watch your Sunday live streams, you get top priority. So yeah, get in shape, guys. It's important. You got to do it. And if you made it this far and you're still watching this video, leave a comment on the video on any sort of content you'd like to see me do. If you guys want me to talk shit about tech, I can do that. If you guys just like some more of my like standalone videos, like, let me see. Like becoming Neo, self-publishing, those kinds of videos, just let me know. Let me know what kind of videos you guys are into. I've been focusing a little bit more on my fitness YouTube, but got to get back to making some content on this channel as well. All right, anyways, guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you for stopping by today. AN, Peter R, fried rice, and then some Chinese name I cannot read. Thank you guys for stopping by. Greatly appreciated. But yeah, I will be back next week, January 16th, for another Sunday live stream. You guys are awesome. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week.